Hello, this is Mrs. Scarpel, and this video is going to go over the problems from the retrieval for Unit 3, Lesson 1. The first problem gives us two functions, function f and function g, and the directions are to graph each of them on the same coordinate grid. I do not have an x or y axis on my grid, so I'm going to go ahead and add the axes, both x and y. And label them. And then I will go back and I will graph my two lines. So the first equation, it's in slope-intercept form. 3 is the slope, the m value, and 5 is the y-intercept. And when you graph from slope-intercept form, you start by plotting the y-intercept and then applying your slope. So I've plotted my y-intercept at 5, and I'm going to go up 3, right 1, and I've already run out of graph. So I'm going to go back to my y-intercept, and I'm going to go the opposite direction, down 3 and right 1. And I'm going to do that a couple more times so that I can make sure I have an accurate graph. And then I'm going to draw a line through these points. So there's our first line. Second line has a slope of -3 and a y-intercept of 5. So we're starting from the same y-intercept, but instead of going up 3, right 1, I'm going to go down 3, right 1. When you have a negative slope, you need to be moving in one negative direction and one positive direction. I could go up 3, but then I have to go left 1. And I'm going to graph the line through those points. So we now have our two equations graphed on the same grid. And we are being asked to explain what is similar and what is different. Well, what is similar? They have the same y-intercept. But they have opposite slopes. Or I'm going to say, and they have opposite slopes. Excuse me. Here we go. Notice we do not form any right angles, so just because they have opposite slopes does not mean they'll be perpendicular. Perpendicular lines would have slopes that are opposite in sign, but they are reciprocals. They're flipped. Let's take a look at our second graph that we need to do. And if we look closely, we see that they both have a slope of 2. But this time it's the y-intercepts that are going to be different. So again, I'm graphing my axes, x and y, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to plot my equation. So slope of 2, y-intercept of +4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and from there it's up 2, right 1, or I can go the other direction, down 2, left 1. And graph a line through those points. So there's our first equation. Second equation, again, slope of 2, y-intercept of -4, so we're starting down 4, and from there up 2, right 1, or we could go down 2, left 1. So you'll see that both lines are moving in the exact same direction, so what is similar is they have the same slope. And different y-intercepts. Because they have the same slope, we can say the lines are parallel. And let's take a look at number 3 for the retrieval. Number 3 is to solve each of the equations for x. A is a linear equation. X doesn't have a power of 2 on it, so that's what makes it a linear equation, or any other power on the x, I should say. So what I would recommend is get your x variable on one side. And since 2 is smaller than 3, I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. So when we subtract 2x from each side, we're left with 1x, or just x, minus 5 equals -4. So to get x by itself, we need to add 5 to both sides of the equation, and we will have x equals 1. B, we have an exponential equation, and the reason I call it an exponential equation is because our variable is an exponent. Now, we haven't covered how to solve an exponential equation, so you want to use more of a guess and check process to solve for x in this case. So what I would recommend doing is create an xy table and just plug in values. So if x were to be 2, we would be checking for 2 squared, which is 4. If I plug in 3 for x, I'm going to be evaluating 2 cubed. Well, that's 8. So let's try 4. That means I'm going to evaluate 2 to the 4th power, which is going to be 16. Now that I know where I have a value of 16, I can check to see what the x value is, and in this case we would be able to say x equals 4. So in your homework assignment, if you have an exponential equation, just do some guess and check to find what that exponent would have to be to equal the value on the other side of the equal sign.